Here's the next foot exercise. We're going to do this with no equipment, just the equipment of our hands and our feet. So the principle of this is also a unique principle. We use this idea of stretching something as far as it goes and then trying to contract it without unstretching it. That's the key, and that's where a lot of people go wrong. So I'll talk you through this, and there's also an underlying idea and understanding that our big toe and our other four toes really have different muscles. And so they have different pathways that they travel up the body. And so a lot of times the way our foot gets stiff is those two pathways get kind of stuck together, and then our body can't rotate and our joints can't move with the space they need, therefore getting narrow and getting arthritis. So this is another good one for the foot and ankle, and targets both the intrinsic muscles of the foot and ankle, which are the small ones in the feet and ankle, but also the larger ones that spread up through the rest of the body. So those are the ones that you're really going to trigger, that build that arch, and you're going to trigger better hip and back health as well. So let's go through these principles now. There's going to be two levels of it. The first level we're going to do with our hands, and it's much easier for people, especially at first, especially if you don't have a lot of flexibility in your foot. Then we'll move on to the more advanced version. Some people might not really ever be able to get to the more advanced version, but if you can, it'd be great to work up to it. And if you can start with it, you can start there too, as long as you understand this underlying concept of what's really happening. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, so I'm taking my foot here, and so see how I'm bringing my big toe one way and my smaller toes the other? See how I can kind of reverse that as well? Bringing one toe one way and the other's the other direction. I just want you to practice that a couple times. I want you to get used to this feeling and this idea. Again, we're bringing one toe one way and the other's the other way. And switch. And switch. And switch. Okay, now here we go. We're gonna do the same thing, but all I want you to do is I want you to spread them apart, different directions, and hold it there. We're gonna spread it apart. And this time, we're gonna point this part of our foot. So not point the toes. So I want you to notice one thing. I'm gonna hold my foot up like this so you can see. We can point the ankle like this, and then we can point the toes in addition. Or if we just point the toes, so to speak, it's more of just a curl under, right? But this action, or this motion from your foot to your ankle here, you're just kind of pointing that ankle. So I can point the ankle technically, and I can bring the toes back. Or I could point the ankle, and I can also point the toes, right? So I am kind of flexible, but I'm gonna try to find a different position to show you the rest in. Okay, so I'm gonna be pointing this ankle joint, and then keeping this ankle joint pointed, I'm bringing my big toe forward and my little toes back. Now here comes the exercise. What I'm gonna do is if I bring my big toe forward, I'm gonna try to curl my big toe back. So my big toe is forward. Now I'm trying to curl it and wind it around that direction with my muscles. So my hand is holding it this way, which we call extended toe extension, but my muscles in my body are trying to bend it forward. And this is a neurological idea of contract, relax, or there's a lot of techniques that build this in. However, some techniques do it ineffectively. The most effective way to do this is bring it forward, and now I'm using my muscles to try to bring it back, but I can't actually see it move. So I don't want my toe to outpower the force of my hand. So I'm bringing it forward with my hand. What I don't want to see is my toe trying to bend back and it's slowly to move like that. What I would like to see from an outsider's perspective is my toe just coming back here and it's staying back, and I'm trying to pass it forward, but I don't actually see the toe move at all, even though I'm trying in my body, which is called an isometric contraction, when you try to move a certain way, but you can't because there's something blocking it. So same thing with our small toes. We can bring our small toes the opposite direction, and we're curling them under. So I'm taking my toes and I'm curling them under. And then I'm trying to bring them forward, and I'm trying to extend them like this, but you can't actually see with your visual eyes that I'm trying to extend them because I'm not outpowering the pressure of my toes. So I'm pressing my toes to try to extend them back, but I'm holding them captive with my hand here. And so I feel the contraction in my body, but you as the viewer cannot see it. So now I'm gonna do both at the same time. So I have my toes split here like this. And what I'm trying to do, the goal is to keep this part of the ankle pointed, split the toes, and try to bring them the opposite direction. So I call this scissors, because we're bringing this apart and we're trying to scissor them shut. So point this ankle, this is key. This is also a very common mistake that people make. They just leave this ankle joint floppy and loose. That's gonna completely lose the tension of your foot all the way up to your leg. So we split them here, the toes, big toe is forward, small toes are back, ankle is pointed, so it's kind of this position here. And then my big toe is trying to go backwards, and my small toes are trying to go forwards in opposite directions. And then just like you did that, you can reverse it. Small toes go back, big toe goes forward, ankle pointed, always, always, always. Keep that ankle pointed really, really strongly. Now try to bring the toes back in opposite directions from where they came from. And you're gonna hold that contraction for 3 to 5 seconds and relax, and that's 1 repetition. Go again, hold that contraction, 3 to 5 seconds, and relax, and that's 2. Let's do 10 repetitions. Now here's the more advanced version. We're gonna do it on the ground. The principles all stay the same. We're still trying to get our toes as stretched as possible, keep them there, and then bring them back the other direction without compromising that stretch, keeping that ankle pointed. So I'm gonna stand up for this one. So I might need help placing my foot on the ground. And if I do, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bend forward. I'm just gonna tuck one toe back, tuck these other toes forward. I might need to kind of lean to the outside of my foot to get the baby toes. See how my foot is kind of slanted outwards so that these tips of the toes, that they contact the surface of the ground. Otherwise, if my foot is straight here, my little pinky toe doesn't touch the ground. So, I'm gonna keep this ankle pointed. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to bend the small ones now and straighten the big one. And I'm gonna hold for 3 seconds, hold, 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 and then relax, and that's 1. Let me show you a different angle. Here, hold, hold, hold. And so another thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to spread my toes at the same time. So once you get this exercise down, I really want you to advance it by thinking about step 1, getting into the position, step 2, spreading the toes, step 3, keeping the spread and trying to scissor the toes back the other direction. So now we can do the opposite with the big toe forward and the small toes back. Again, you can lean forward and you can help place your toe. I'll just grab my big toe and bring it forward. Keep my small toes back. Here, keep this ankle again pointed forward, you know it. And try to spread the toes as the next step. And then here, try to bend that big toe under, try to curl the big toe. And I'm trying to extend or bring backwards the smaller toes. So this one I have a harder time getting into place, so I just use some assistance from my hands. and relax. If you need a softer surface, it'd be great to do this on a pillow or a foam pad. There's a lot of therapeutic foam pads that are nice and flat and nice and firm, yet soft, and great for this exercise. A lot of times people will report it being uncomfortable pressure on the top of their foot. So what I usually tell them is if that's the only problem they're having with the exercise, try to continue with it, but find either a softer surface or hold the contractions for a little bit less time.